Oppa Gundam style, everyone, and welcome to Wow Cool Robot. My name is Jared, or Jay, and I use he and them pronouns.
I'm Max, and I use he and him pronouns. And you might notice, we're not running at full capacity this week.
Yeah, we're moving at 2/3 slower than a regular Zaku.
Okay, yeah, I figured as soon as you started talking, I was like, they're gonna say something about Zaku's, aren't they?
I have to. We're
not painted red, we're like painted a deep pink right now.
Yeah, we're painted that shade of pink that makes people not feel aggression. I can't remember what it is, but it's like there was a time where boxers would wear like boxing gloves that were a shade of pink because it made their opponents less aggressive. It's a real color theory thing. They put people in jail cells and they stopped being as awful.
Curious.
Jail cells were painted pink, for the record. They didn't start throwing people in jail.
Julia is currently in tummy hell right now. We are all saluting her.
Yeah.
I mean, it's truly the podcaster's lament. It happens to all of us. And if you're
all
listening,
podcasters have tummy, and it's a problem.
If you're listening, it'll happen to you too.
Yeah. A happy day after Halloween.
Happy day after Halloween. So this is a big week outside of having recording fun time.
Right.
So we're recording this Dia de los Muertos, November 1st. Let's fucking see. Animal Crossing updates on Friday. Big deal. Forza Horizon 5, the game of the year of 2021, comes out on Friday. I've already taken Friday off.
Forza.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
If you paint your car red in that game, you can drive 3 times faster.
You can also put cool flame filigree decals on your car.
You can put a lot of things on a lot of things. I'm gonna take like, what's the weirdest, like, sharpest, most angular car? I'm gonna take, like, a Lamborghini Countach and, like, paint it black and white and, like, make it look like a fucking Death Scythe Gajinka car. And it's gonna be badass.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cool as hell. Actually, you know what? When I'm editing, I'm gonna remember to write this down to be like, hey, Max, you should, what 5 cars in Forza would be the wing cars? This is a challenge
absolutely.
for me and me alone to solve.
Yeah, I will not be of any help.
You'll be part of the judging committee. I'll just need you to look at what I say and say, yes, good job.
Oh, sure. It's like, it was shared a while back, but someone shared like some art someone did where all of the Gundam boys were wearing like cultural clothing. Like I think Wu Fei was wearing like this really sick like Filipino flag inspired jacket or something along those lines. And I think Duo or Hiro had like the Mexican flag, and it was like the inspiration for their outfit. It was something along those lines. I wish I could find it, but it's like all of the Endless Waltz suits styled. And so it's kind of spoilers, and so I think we hid it from you.
Oh, okay, that's probably wise.
It was a fantastic image, and I want to see if I can find it after this.
I can't wait to find out what Endless Waltz is about.
It's about dancing.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
They put Dance Dance Revolution in Gundam.
Oh, hell yeah. It rules. And also, the last cool thing this week is that it's a Gunpla update, because I have like 5 kits all coming in at the same time. Like, I have my P Bandai clear color kits from the Gundam Expo. I have my pre-ordered from USA Gundam Store Nightingale high grade and high new real grade. So I am ready to rumble when it comes to kits. Like,
fuck yeah,
it's gonna be fun, and I have decals ready to go for all of them. So it's gonna be a fun time.
Rules.
Expect a lot of photos in the Gunpla channel of our Discord. I almost said subreddit. It's not true. Anyway, we're here to talk about Gundam Wing. It's a good show, except this week we kind of melted our fucking brains, didn't it?
Yeah, the first episode of this batch is a lot to take in.
It is. Let's get into it. I think since you have the second summary, I'll just do the first and the third, and we can keep on bouncing it back.
Sure.
I'll read what Jules has so kindly left for us.
Yeah.
So this is New Mobile Report Gundam Wing, episode 22. The Fight for Independence. Zex, now going as Milliardo Peacecraft, meets with Lady Un as an ambassador of the Sank Kingdom. Nickel begins acting on his own and refuses to trust Milliardo. Un realizes that she's developed a split personality while trying to execute Trace's dream of the future. The Alliance's colony headquarters was not destroyed along with the Alliance military during the coup, and they managed to make me relate to the Alliance military folk for the first time. Nickel attempts to destroy the colony and Un in a mobile suit, with Barge as cannons, and Un imprisons him upon her return to the base. Lastly, Wu Fei reveals himself in the busted-ass Shenlong and is captured by Chief Engineer Tubarov of the Rockefeller Foundation on his way to space. This is... What you don't get with this summary is, like, it's just fucking talking.
It is unbelievable. I think it was you who said it, where they literally start talking and do not stop until the episode ends. And you're probably thinking to yourself, like, oh yeah, that's how you make a show. It's kind of an action series, though, so normally there's, like, stuff that happens, and, like, the only thing we see happen lasts for, like, 5 seconds, and it's when Wu Fei shows up at the end of the freaking episode.
It's like, I don't even, like... I don't necessarily mind that. It's more that it's just like, there's not room to breathe.
It's 22 episodes in, and they decided to just cram all of this into one spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, I said it a lot in the
of the 3 episodes we covered, they definitely could have, like, spread it out over those 3. There were moments where it would have been fine for them to do that.
That's the thing. I said it in the Discord a lot. Like, I wouldn't have minded all of this if this was more spread out, but, like, as it is, it felt like I mentioned it in Pod of Greed, where, like, they kind of, like, backload all of the main important plot points at the end of season 2 of GX, and this is very similar, where they, like, they're like, oh shit, we forgot to talk more about ideology, let's just slam it in here. Not to say that Wing hasn't been talking about ideology, but, like, it is just so heavy-handed here that it just took, I think it took all 3 of us, like, a really long time to kind of just get through watching this, because we had to, like, stop and, like, just catch our breath every couple of minutes.
Part of it was definitely me stopping to take screenshots, which is something that I do frequently, and then I don't actually post them anywhere other than the recording chats.
They were good screenshots, though.
Yeah, this week I did actually share those. I shared the ones of Lady Un pushing up her glasses and then pointing her gun at the camera.
Hell yeah.
I can't wait to do an edit of that later that just has begone turf.
Very good. So this one starts out, we see Zex, they, like, recover the tall geese. Miliardo. He's not Zex right now.
Yeah.
Fuck. I fucked up. We see Miliardo. He's in this incredible fit, looking fresh to death.
I want to note something about this. I feel like this has to be Peacecraft specific attire because it matches the outfit we saw Relina in when Relina went to the Rockefeller Foundation with Noin. It was extremely good.
Yeah, I love it. It's such a fucking, like, this, like, white and black with, like, gold trim. Oh, it's so cool. And he introduces himself to Lady Un as a representative of the Sank Kingdom, and he basically says that he's here to, like, investigate Oz's effect on the colonies. You know, basically his whole deal, from what I can tell, is that he kind of wants to see, like, how is Oz attaining this so-called peace? Like, is what they're doing okay?
Yeah, it's really interesting. He's really just trying to inspect what the, like, Alliance and Oz are up to. And there's a moment where after he gets, like, off board, he meets with Lady Un and they talk, and she just doesn't, like, she no-sells it, does not recognize him at all.
I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily no-selling it. I think in this state she might not recognize him at all.
That's fair, yeah.
Because, again, Lady Un, like, God, there's a fucking lot to get with there.
This dude with long blonde hair who pulled up in the tall geese. Everyone's like, oh, Miliardo Peacecraft from the Sank Kingdom. And Nickel is just, like, behind the corner like, Zex.
Yeah, Nickel's the only person who's like, am I, like, the only one who understands who this guy is? And
right.
Would appear so, yes, actually. It's good. Yeah, like, he's, like, behind a pillar, and he's just like, oh, God, that's Zex. We get some interesting characters that are pretty important for this episode, because we cut to Colony D-120. The narration introduces this place as, it's like, Earth controls this colony. It is essentially like a military installation to manufacture arms and send them back to Earth, I think.
Yep. It's something along those lines. It's basically one of the Alliance's, like, first and strongest, like, holdouts in their, like, occupation of the colonies when that started happening too. So it's a big deal for the Alliance that this place is like still hanging in there. Oz has taken out a lot of stuff in space, but this place is still like Alliance controlled.
Yeah, for now at least.
For now.
It's led by our favorite character, General Septum. It's led by his son Gwinter.
Yeah, I was excited to like get mention of Septum, and I want to point out now, and I'll probably point it out again later. Gwinter is like Dozle Zabi levels of just fucking big. He's big fucking dude.
It's fun, like, and it's not like Dozle Zabi levels of like intimidating. He just looks normal. He's just like
he's just a
huge. 7 foot tall guy. Yeah. And another character is this bald old man. I don't even know if we ever get his name. And it's not revealed who he is until much later, but he is Septum's father.
Septum's father, yeah.
Yeah, he's Gwinter's grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a name for him in the dub?
Not that I remember, no.
Okay, yeah. He's Pappy Septum is what I'll call him.
I think in my notes I had him mixed up because there's a moment like where they mention Duke Dermail, and I was like, I remember that name. Is that the old guy?
Dermail is the big beard Romefeller leader, I believe.
Right. Yeah. I figured that out later, but my notes have suffered.
Yeah, because again, it's just so many characters, and it's like, I don't need to be force-fed information, but when we're cutting back and forth so many times, at least the first time I see someone, introduce me to them in a little way, you know? Like, give me something here. But the discussion here while Miliardo's here is essentially... Oh, by the way, I think you wanted to mention this. This episode has a lot of flashing lights.
Oh, yes. It's around the 10 to 12 minute mark. There's a moment where Miliardo Peacecraft is speaking to Gwinter and his grandfather, and a lot of the screens that are on display do flash quite a bit. Pretty bright and pretty rapid.
Yeah,
so
pretty rough.
For anyone who has photosensitivity to things like that, please be aware.
Yeah, it's not ideal. But they're talking here, essentially Gwinter... funny enough, not like Septum, doesn't immediately want to fight back against Oz or anything. He's taking, like, I don't want to call it a centrist path here, because, you know, if he were truly fully peace-minded, the show would have killed him off by now. But essentially, he says that he wants to use the military assets they have in order to force open a dialogue. So it's like, he's going the deterrence route, which is like, at this point, the most peaceful route you can possibly take in the world of Gundam Wing.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that, you know, he's very much not his father's son here, which is not what I expected from him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. It's nice to see them just kind of give him his own actual character instead of being like, he's Septum 2. Nickel was just Otto 2. But he's a simp for Lady Un instead of Zex.
I mean, who isn't?
Yeah.
But
based on the Discord, yeah.
Pappy Septum, he talks about Miliardo for a little bit. Talks about how he's kind of using his peaceful past in the Saint Kingdom to like investigate Oz here. Pretty much what he told Un when he met her. It's like, he's not here as Zex, he's here as Miliardo. So it's like he's very much. It's like, I don't know. I guess. People really don't know that Miliardo is Zex and vice versa. So, like, people are like, oh, I guess the Saint Kingdom wasn't wiped out. Welcome aboard. So
the mask does so much for him. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, they don't get it by his dulcet tones. I can tell you that much.
For real.
And yeah, we get a short little scene here of Trey's is talking with Dermail, talking about, like, Lady Un's work in space here.
Mm-hmm.
And... This isn't where we get him talking about split personality. That's later on, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that is later on because he speaks to Dermail a little bit, and then I think there's a different moment where... Oh, yeah, he's talking... Hang on. He's talking to Dermail, and he gets congratulated on basically like nearly taking control of space. I think Dermail tells him that Tubarov is going to be working on the mobile dolls under Lady Un's request.
Yes, that's right.
And Trey's is like, really? Lady Un requested that, huh? And then there's a moment where Trey's actually speaks to Lady Un after his call with Dermail.
Yes, she Skypes Un.
Yeah, and it's the first time they've talked in like not even face to face, but it's the first time they've like directly interacted in a long time.
Yeah.
And Lady Un's basically like, you should come to space. There's like the plan is kind of chaos, and you aren't doing enough to follow the path you had set out, and I think you need to come to space. And like Trey says a bunch of stuff about like people will keep fighting no matter what. It's like the natural state of humanity, some other shit. But he also says, I didn't write down the line specifically, but he's like, some people even get pleasure out of being controlled. And it's like, good. Thank you, Trays, for admitting you know about BDSM.
Yes. So, God, this is like, one of many fucking Metal Gear Solid 4 length codec cutscenes. He's Skyping and she's like, I will use the mobile dolls so you don't need to suffer, so you can lead the world. Your heart can make you a god and lead all life on Earth and in space. And at that point, I would have already hung up and be like, Jesus Christ, what have I done?
Yeah, absolutely. I have like a short, shorthand write-up. So the world is confusion. Laid out a new future, separate from the one Trey's had. They kind of both say fighting will never disappear. Trey says the strong should rule. There are people who take pleasure out of being ruled over, but ultimately the world will continue fighting. Trey's has a heart that can become God, whatever that means. Their ideals do actually clash here, which is interesting. It's not the first time we've seen that, but
yes.
This is Lady Un being the peace-minded Lady Un, the more like open and like polite Lady Un that's clashing with Trey's, which is interesting to see. And then Trey says his future is determined to be in outer space, but he's not that strong. Like, he can't make that future happen. He says something about Zex and the Gundams are constructing a new future, and then he says, like, history will repeat itself. And then he asks Lady Un to come back to him.
Yeah. So the most important thing here that, like, really kind of, like, I took note of was how Lady Un is like, this is the future that you're working towards. Yeah. And Trey's is like, this is the future that you want. And the future that I want is different. But at the same time, regardless, the future can't be what one single person wants. Absolutely. It really feels like, it's like we haven't seen Trey's in the center in a while, but it feels like he's starting to doubt himself, which is interesting. Like, not what I expected. Like, this early on in the show, too. We are like about 40% of the way through the show.
Yeah.
And like seeing Trey's doubt himself kind of so early on in that plan is like,
yeah,
not
one of his
what
lines
I expected.
Is about now that Oz has kind of like its roots in outer space. The Romefeller Foundation is like really pushing for the things they want instead of following what Trey's plan kind of was. And he's like, I don't have enough sway to control them, and they could keep doing that and destroy the plan that I had, which would ultimately lead to peace, I think. But it's like a controlled militaristic peace.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust his peace. Again, I don't trust the fucking Romefeller Foundation either.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, but that's the thing. This is a moment where we see Trey's as an individual clashing against the Romefeller Foundation as well.
Yeah. It's good. And he does mention a little thing about how the Gundam pilots are also making their own future. And then he asks Lady Un to come back to him, specifically the Lady Un that he knows. Not this nice... Not the nice Lady Un who talks like this. He wants the fucking Lady Un who will step on him.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't we all?
Lady Un, please put those glasses back on.
Yeah, dude. Then we get Nickel talking to, I think it's Dermail.
It's Dermail, yes.
And he tells him that, like, Zex is, at this colony. He's working with the colony 120, D120. He's working with the former alliance. Nickel is just like, this fucking sucks. What should I do? And Dermail's just like, blow up their space force, idiot.
Yeah.
And then this is where we
have
see,
unkillable battle AIs, homie. I don't know what to tell you.
This is where we see Gwynter with Zex, and this is like, oh, that's a big fucker, because he is like head and shoulders above Zex, and he's twice as wide.
And like Zex definitely isn't short either. Zex is probably a pretty tall guy.
Absolutely. And then I think it's I think it's Gwynter's grandfather who says something along the lines of, space once thrived and set an example for peace-minded countries on Earth. And that's like speaking to the early colonies when they were still in development, but there were colonists out in space, like living. They were setting this example of like, there was no conflict for a long time. And then the Alliance showed up.
It's specifically what he... what he talks about, which is what was so interesting to me here, is he mentions that, you know, when life was peaceful, the only thing that was troubling people was insecurity. And he talks about how, like, all of the natural phenomena that we take for granted on Earth are all artificial and controlled by humans in the colonies. Like, you know, gravity, weather, the day and night cycle. Like, this is all insecurity. And, like, in the back of everyone's head, you can't get rid of it. You always will have that insecurity while you're living in space. So what naturally leads is, how do people find security? Weapons. And what's going to lead from that? They're just going to want to, like, storm Earth and take it over for themselves, so they don't need to live with that insecurity anymore. So, like, no matter what, like, people are going to, like, gravitate towards war because it's just human nature. Yeah.
It's a actually kind of reasonable argument. Like, I can get that. It very much reminded me of, like, the scheduled rains in the UC stuff. That was, like, a thing that they had to deal with occasionally. There's also a moment where he mentions that, like, the Alliance lost to Oz, like, very clearly lost to Oz. And the Alliance wanted to surrender, but since they had control in outer space, they didn't want to give that up because they didn't want the colonies to just turn to turmoil, because there would be, like, a power vacuum, sort of, I guess. But the Alliance was basically like, yeah, like, we wanted to surrender, but we didn't for the good of the people.
Right, yeah, it's like, yeah, I know you're not really in it for the people, but at the same time, it's like, while you're saving your own asses, you might as well also save the asses of those around you who are already in the situation. It's like, no one's kind of good here, but
it's pretty rough.
I don't know, I'm kind of coming around on all of the ideology bullshit in this episode, because talking with someone else about it is like, okay,
I know.
they're making some points here, right?
They're making arguments. I don't necessarily like or agree with them, but they're solid for the setting.
But damn it, they're trying.
Yeah.
And this is when we get the terrible TV screen flashing, because we're under attack.
Yeah.
Milliardo wants to help them fight back, and they're like, hey, you are a peace representative. And Milliardo's like, aha, would you believe if I told you I could switch between identities?
Right.
Yeah, so for he doesn't put the mask on, but, like, in this moment, he's Zex now, I suppose.
Yeah, he's just like, I have combat experience. And it's like, great, use it.
I can fly the heart attack Gundam.
We get this, like, weird exchange with Nickel and Lady Un, too. Nickel walks in on Lady Un. She's, like, looking at the Romefeller's plan that Dermail sent along to her, and it's basically to send mobile dolls to Earth and occupy them, like, remotely. And Lady Un is like, I don't want to do that because people are gonna die. Like, that's not what Oz would want. That's not what we want, you know? Un says Treize needs to come to outer space, but he has refused his mission to rule the world. That's the way that she is viewing the situation. Yes. And then Nickel is just like, you should be a soldier for Treize. You should be a weapon. You should be a tool for this man. And Lady Un's like, I think I will, and then gets in its horses.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, it very much, this is Nickel essentially, like, sensing a moment of weakness in Lady Un, because you can tell he's already been getting tired of, like, her. Nickel wants to tear shit up, right?
But that's the other thing. Yeah, exactly. He's like, Mom, can you go out of town so I can throw a party?
Basically, yeah.
Because she goes out on the battlefield and he's like, I'm in charge of Barge now.
Yeah, this is, and she doesn't even, like, go girl boss mode when she's in the Leo either. Like, she's still peaceful Lady Un. Like, this is her, because, like, in this moment for this part, she is wanting to serve Treize, and Nickel effectively says, don't serve under Treize, assist Treize by becoming a soldier instead. Like, instead of doing, like, the clerical work, essentially, get your hands dirty. And, you know, it's enough to convince her to say, yeah, okay, why the fuck not? Let's do it.
Yeah, and in the command room, Nickel is basically like, ready the Barge laser to fire on, like, this section of the colony. And Troa, who is there, speaks up. He's like, would Lady Un approve of those orders? And Nickel basically flips him the bird and's like, Lady Un isn't here. And Tro's like, I'll go get in the V8. We'll use that instead. And we'll get, like, the other pilot in the Mercurius. And Nickel's just like, no, fuck you. Fire the laser.
Yeah, or we can arrest you. How about that?
Yeah, he detains Troa, and one of the things he says before we cut away from the scene is, a soldier doesn't need to be thinking so much. Nickel, come on. I disagree.
Yeah, I wrote that line down as well. I think he specifically says, a soldier doesn't need to think so much. Ideals about peace are for people in the top ranks.
God.
And it's like, true, but also you did very much send the person who's had ideals about peace into battle to probably get killed right now. So, it doesn't mean much coming from you, homeboy.
I wouldn't listen to a word this motherfucker says. He's a snake.
Yeah. I mean, he's compelling.
We fly out into outer space and we see some of this combat. There's a Leo that actually, from the Alliance, that takes out a Taurus, but then immediately gets killed because a Taurus flies into him and body checks him and just makes the Leo explode.
It's good. Yeah, we see Tallgeese beating up mobile dolls.
Tallgeese busting through. It's so good.
It rules. And like within like a couple seconds, like 50% of the Alliance's Leos were destroyed in this fight.
But the civilians were evacuated from the colony. From D120.
Because Gwinter knows, this is it. They're going to fire on us. And Pappy Septim says, this is the first time that a colony is going to be destroyed in war since they were made. And he says, we can't do anything now. All we can hope for is that our desk can send a message to everyone and essentially show them that war is bad.
Yeah. It's like the Alliance members, specifically Gwinter and his grandfather, are basically like, this is fucked, but we don't really have a way out of it. And hopefully it leads to the greater good, I guess.
Yeah, they literally just say, guess I'll die.
Yeah. Miliardo's out in the mix and he's blasting a bunch of Tauruses, but he sees a stray Leo. I think is she in a Leo or is she in a...
She's in a Leo, yeah.
Okay. He sees a stray Leo and it's actually Lady Un, and she's just spouting a bunch of shit off, mostly to herself. It doesn't seem like she's broadcasting it to anyone this time.
No.
But it's like... Somehow, in the heat of battle, Treize ends up calling Miliardo.
He fucking... Okay, it was a Taurus. I was wrong. She's in a Taurus. Yes, this is when Treize Skypes Miliardo, and he's like, Miliardo, I fucked up. You gotta help me out here. I fucked up big time.
And he says there are only two people who understand me. There's you, and there's Lady Un.
You're the only real ones out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is when he straight up says Lady Un has a split personality. And I'm like,
he says her feelings
great.
Toward me have caused her to have split personalities. It's just, and then it cuts like from that to Lady Un just getting blasted.
Yeah, she's getting fucked up. And yeah, he just implores her to save her. Or he tells Miliardo, you gotta save her. The only other person who understands me. And he also mentions in this conversation, he's like, Treize is losing power, Oz is changing, Romofeller is taking over. The path that mankind is taking is leading to, you guessed it, more war. So like, right. I think he even says Miliardo my closest friend. Like, he knows that even though Miliardo has essentially forsaken Treize by now, he's like...
I wonder if it's different in the sub, but I think he calls him his eternal friend.
I think that is what he says in the sub. I'm paraphrasing from what I remember when I watched this earlier today. Because there have been
mentions throughout this episode that they've basically known each other since childhood.
Mm-hmm. They're buddies.
They're friends.
But at this point, Nickel orders...
Yeah, I was going to say, this is where Nickel's just like, fire the beam cannon. And one of his subordinates, not even Troa, one of his subordinates is just like, but Lady Un's like out there in the line of fire. And Nickel's like, she knew the risk she was taking. Fucking edgelord.
Yeah. And the beam does fire.
Yeah, the beam does fire, and it like starts firing, and immediately we see a button get pushed and thrusters start firing. Mm-hmm. And turns out Troa did not go gently into that good night. In fact, he took out an entire room of engineers so he could fire those thrusters and force the beam to miss. And hilariously, Miliardo sees this, and he's like, it missed. Did they mean for that?
Yeah.
No dipshit.
Clearly not. But yeah, like, Troa even says, like, this is what Lady Un would have wanted. Like, she wouldn't have wanted this whole thing to be melted.
Un is in the cockpit, and this is, I think, the second time we see her in her purple normal suit, which I want to point out has a logo on the side. So we have the Oz logo is a lion, I believe, or maybe that's like Zex's logo.
I think that might be Treize's logo.
Okay, yeah. But the logo on this purple normal suit, this Astro suit, is a Tin Man. More Wizard of Oz references. But she is mad as hell, and she radios in, and she's like, "Bring me back to Barge right now."
Yeah. And we get a cute little thing of, like, Tallgeese carrying the Taurus.
It's so funny, but the only thing I could think of is, like, when someone walks up behind you. It's like any scene in any romance film where someone's cooking dinner and their partner like walks up behind them and is like very gently like basically fondling them.
I mean, admittedly, it's because the Taurus doesn't have its arms anymore.
Right, yeah. So the Tallgeese is like literally holding it by the chest section.
Yeah. Milliardo carries on into the hangar boobily.
Yeah. The Taurus breasted boobily into the hangar.
And the Taurus thundered tiddly.
And then we see Lady Un in the cockpit. The cockpit opens, and Nickel is like right in front of her, and he starts to say something, I think, and then Lady Un cuts him off. And I don't remember what she says. She's telling him that she would have done the exact same thing. Like it's like the calculations she would have made. But she's like, the calculations I've made right now are to kick your ass. She like delivers a one-liner. She does the smug anime glasses push-up and then points a gun at him.
Yeah. It's so like what she says in the sub is a little bit different. She says, "Your actions were justified, so are mine." And she doesn't shoot him.
That's a way better delivery.
Yeah, like she doesn't shoot him. Like we see him getting taken away. Essentially, he's just gonna be like court-martialed or jailed or whatever the hell.
Yeah. She should have no-scoped him like Septum.
It would be very funny if she just like blasted Nickel. Yeah. But after this, Milliardo kind of thinks to himself. He's like, just like Trey's like, I also don't have any power. I'm merely a soldier now. We do hear about the mobile dolls are like beginning to be brought to Earth, I believe. Like the plan is progressing very well.
No, it's things are going smoothly, and Tubarov is on his way to the lunar base to continue development. Right. Yeah, but there is a line that Milliardo Zex thinks to himself, with these ultimate weapons, the world is headed to an age where soldiers are no longer needed, and he sounds like afraid when he says it.
Yeah.
It's really fucking good. And then we see Tubarov kind of headed to the moon, and I think we get the like alert radar sound, but it's like really fast. And then we just see Shenlong Gundam still just blasting fuel out of its side. And Wu Fei is like, "Come and get me, cowards!"
Yeah, it's so funny. He basically is like, he knows he can't do anything, so he's like, "Gosh, I sure hope they don't kill me right here."
Yeah. Boy, I hope I don't get captured.
Yeah, I would hate it so much if you captured me and put me in the lunar base with all my friends.
Please don't recognize I'm out of ammo and fuel and take me somewhere safe and stable.
Yeah, and of course, that is exactly what happened. Tubarov's like, "Hold on, he's not fighting back. Let's capture this fool."
Yeah, Tubarov's basically like, "Oh, free Gundam."
Yeah, it's free real estate.
It's free real estate.
That's where the episode ends.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, I turned around and I liked this episode. This one's good, actually.
It's not good to watch. It is a hard episode
it's good to discuss.
Sit through. Yeah.
It's good to discuss, yeah.
It's definitely an interesting episode to actually like pick apart, but it was a hard one to sit through and watch. The next episode, however, is very, very much like fun for me. It's me specifically, this episode.
This title fucking knocked me right on my ass.
And that would be episode 23. Duo, God of Death once again. Sally Poe finds 01, the wing Gundam, at the bottom of an ocean and recovers it. Wu Fei gets captured and taken to the moonbase with Hiro. The Gundam engineers are up to something sinister, we find out later. Milliardo talks to the Alliance. Duo meets a girl and tries to make his way to the lunar base, where Oz will be manufacturing more mobile dolls. Duo does make it to the moon and infiltrates the base, but he accidentally stumbles into the engineers, and they tell him to get captured in order for them to finish rebuilding Shenlong and the Death Scythe.
Oh, let's fucking go. New robot soon.
New intro, too. New intro narration.
Yes.
This narrator made his fucking buck on this show.
I know. Yeah, essentially the TLDR of the new narration is just that the Gundam pilots are fighting for a reason to exist in this new world where everyone hates their guts.
And zero mention of Operation Meteor, of course.
Yeah, sorry, I think that...
I really thought it was going to be a bigger deal, and I was extremely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, just do the push-ups and sit-ups and crunches and what have you. Just do it yourself, you know?
Yeah. Listen to the
Judge in your
podcast
heart
and do
what
the
is right.
push-ups and punches along to the narration of us telling you about Gundam. But this beginning scene was so satisfying. We start out with like lights scanning the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
We do get the terrible underwater like stock sound that this studio has because it's extremely overblown. But it is Sally Poe and a crew of militia members that are scanning the grounds, and they find 01. And Sally's like, aha, now I can put it with my other Gundam that I have. And something pings on their radars, and they're like, oh, it's probably an Oz like submarine searching for 01. Smash cut to an Oz submarine searching for 01. And
the Oz submarine sends out their cancer units, and we get to see some new ones, right? We haven't seen these yet, have we?
The Cancers?
The Pisces.
Oh, no, we've seen the Pisces. The Pisces have been around since the beginning, yeah.
I guess I completely forgot. Never mind.
We see them in a lot more action than we ever have. This is like the Oz mobile suit power hour this entire episode, because it's Pisces versus Cancers. There's no Gundams anywhere. We also see the Pisces like moving in, like they're transformed like more mobile suit mode rather than their like fish mode, I guess.
Yeah, the one that looks like a Leo with two like big weird like propeller claws.
Yeah, they're so cool. They're so very stupid cool. And they're so cool. But we get a lot of like new fight animation for this, and it's really, really good to see.
They can't reuse animations for a fight we haven't seen yet.
Exactly. And specifically we see like missiles being launched, but there's one of the Pisces suits that plants a bunch of mines on the outside of the Oz sub, and this militia squad just dispatches Oz like handily. It's unbelievable how fast they take out these Oz troops.
It's sick. And like they end up successfully recovering Wing. Mm-hmm. And Sally kind of wonders, like, why would he abandon this if it can bring about the future?
Yeah.
Whoa. So yeah, Sally has 2 Gundams now. Great.
Sally does, in fact, have 2 Gundams right now. She might only have one. I don't remember if she actually handed it off to the Magmanac or if she's just, like, working with them now. But effectively, she has 2 Gundams.
I don't know. I think the Magmanac do have the Sandrock remains.
Okay.
But still, I mean, she has one Gundam, which is more than everyone else in the world can say, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Save for a couple people. So we cut to the moon, the lunar base. Tubarov is like...
Tubarov is talking to Dr. J and Professor G, but they in the background of this shot is just like a stripped down Leo, which it's... Oh my god. It's just like... We don't get a lot of moments where we see the Leo like without armor because they tend to just get shot and blow up. But this is where we get to see like actual like greebled and detailed like inner frame of a Leo. And it's a lot more interesting than the exterior lets on.
I know,
the exterior is very like flat and rounded, flat like color wise because of the show. But still, it's really satisfying to see. And Tubarov is basically just like, I don't care how much fucking money it takes. Spend all the money. Make these suits as good as you possibly can. And Dr. J is just like, this guy's an asshole.
Yeah, like, because specifically what he says here, he's like, yeah, it doesn't matter how much it costs. Like, we can just, like, strip everything out of these colonies like the old world explorers did in the original colonies.
That's
and I'm like, okay, yeah, fucking a little bit ham-fisted there.
Mm-hmm. But Dr. J and Professor G are like, this guy's a fucking idiot. They stripped down the Gundam. He doesn't even want the spare parts. And so Professor G does. He drives off with like these spare armor parts of the Shenlong. And then we see him actually pull up to Master O. And there are 2 suits. One's kind of a stripped down Death Scythe and the other's Shenlong. But some of the colors are a bit weird.
It's a little bit greener, perhaps.
Weird, yeah.
This
is when we get Miliardo talking to Alliance members.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, we need to arm ourselves to keep fighting off Oz and Romefeller. Like, we need to start producing our own mobile suits at, like, whatever cost it is to the colonies. And Milliardo's just like, no, that's bad. Don't do that.
Don't you see what's happening here?
He doesn't have an argument, really, but...
Yeah. He mentions, like, offhand, like, these dangerous rumors that Oz has executed all the Gundam scientists.
Yeah.
And I think that's specifically in order to, like, essentially make people not think that Oz is continuing to develop more cool war crime suits.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, oh, the genius scientists who designed mobile suits are gone, so Oz certainly can't make any more, right?
Right. Yeah. While they're arguing with Milliardo too, they show Sally Poe and they're like, she's been doing direct action and it's working. So we're also going to do direct action. Yeah. Also, she probably has 2 Gundams. And Milliardo's like, she has 2 fucking Gundams?
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And now we cut to Duo, who's chilling in the moon base.
Yeah, we get
to meet a new
Before that,
friend.
we get a bunch of supplies being delivered to the moon, and they're just these weird giant metal squares floating above the moon inexplicably. I don't know what that was about, but it was really funny to see. Yeah.
That's
all. Yeah, Duo's chilling.
Duo's simply chilling. We meet a new friend, a new Oz member named Hilda Schweiker. She's cool. I thought she was Noin at first, but she's not.
She's kind of like young Noin.
She's oit.
She's got the purple hair. It sticks out in front of her face like every Gundam character in the show, and
the same like high spiky bangs that Noin has.
She's got protagonist disease, anime protagonist disease.
I know.
But yeah, she introduces herself. It's Hildy Spiker. And she basically overheard Duo like criticizing Oz as like there was an announcement on the radio. And she's like, fuck you, Oz is doing good stuff. And Duo's like, no, they're not. And he's like, if you like Oz so much, I should join him, like flirting with her a little bit. And she just immediately hands him an application.
She's like, yeah, do it, coward. You won't.
Yeah.
And he was like, maybe I will. Nah.
It's credit to Scott McNeil for another fun delivery because he's like, count on it, baby. I'll be there. It's
I love
very cheesy as Hildy walks away.
Yeah. We cut to the jail cell that Wu Fei is in, and Hero's also here. This is the fucking Oz regional Gundam pilot detention center, I suppose.
Yeah, they're on the same cell and everything. Like they're both just locked up. Like they have those big like not even Star Wars cuffs, but it's like they lock your forearms in.
Yeah, it's like your entire fucking
yeah
deal is locked up. And they know that they're going to be used as test pilots for Oz. Like, obviously, Hero knows that and has said as such because he already has done that. And Wu Fei talks about like the course of the war, and he's like, yeah, if and when it does come to mortal combat, that's Treize's plan. He'll still be able to come out on top over Oz in such a case.
Which that didn't land for me. Like, I did not get what Wu Fei was talking about. So
yeah, I
just
think he knows
shit to me.
Yes, I want to say this is kind of going off of Wu Fei's the only one who's like met Treize face to face, and like I think Wu Fei like being there in person to realize is like, okay, he's a lot more like of an accomplished person than you would expect from him.
I see.
And I think Wu Fei, like knowing how easily he was beat in a duel and how Treize let him go, I think Wu Fei realizes that Treize like definitely has a lot of contingencies and is able to like, you know, worm himself through all these different situations.
Okay. Part of me wants to know, and I don't know if they ever address it, I want to know if Wu Fei knows about the Romefeller Foundation. Because, like, up until, like, episode 16, 17, something like that, Romefeller was, like, in the background. Like, people didn't know about the Romefeller Foundation. So I wonder if he knows about that and like Treize's relationship to it, because if he doesn't, he probably thinks Treize is just like still fully in charge of Oz.
The head honcho. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Maybe Wu Fei just like talking out of his ass and is completely wrong, which would also be very funny.
Me podcasting.
We cut to we cut to an Oz hangar. It's sign up day. Well, not quite yet.
Yeah, this is so fucking funny. Duo
this
shows
is hysterical.
Up. He's got like a little application. He hands it to some officer, and Hildy is like scanning the crowd, and she's in that cool purple Astro suit, and she sees Duo, and then we see the interaction of Duo handing this guy his application, and his profile like photograph on this printed off piece of paper is basically him making like a goofy face.
He's cheesing, yeah, his rules.
He snags the paperback. He's like, that's enough of that. And starts to like head on board like he's gonna go get trained. And Hildy stops him and she's like, let me see that application. Also, I told you to be here next week. And he's like, well, the thing about this application is it's a fake.
He like throws it, he like fucking yeets his like duffel bag at her head and like jumps into a Leo and hijacks it. It is so funny.
I love how
this.
he hijacks this Leo because he like grabs a pole and like zero grav spins himself around it and then just slams into the pilot and then hops into the cockpit.
So good. It is hysterical.
It's so fucking funny.
Duo's
and
cool.
So Duo actually gets in the Leo and he points the gun at like everyone on the ground and he's like, I don't want to fire inside the colony, so just let me go. And he makes his way out. He makes his way out safely. But once he's in space, he starts getting kind of chased down.
Yeah, Hildy's here, and you know, this is like the clash of the exact same ideology, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, they're both fighting for peace in their own way, and they're like, so why are we enemies then? And it's like, it's a little more nuanced than that, Hildy.
I know. This is the thing that I have a problem with Hildy's character because she's immediately like, oh, Oz is good. And then she meets Duo and Duo's like, we're both fighting for peace. Look around you. Oz isn't as great. Like, it's not all it's cracked up to be. And then she critically thinks for what seems to be the first time in her life about like what Oz is doing. And she's immediately like, oh, Duo's like right. And there's like Oz, while they're fighting, Oz sends out like a shuttle and the shuttle catches up to them and starts firing on Duo and like blasts off one of his limbs. And Hildy kind of like gets in the way of the line of fire and the shuttle has to like go around her. And they keep firing on the Leo. And Hildy's like, oh, this is bad, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, like, uh-oh. He gets recovered, and like, you know, he once again explains to her that he's fighting for the colonies, but like he doesn't really recognize their attitude anymore because he like, you know, when he left the colonies, they were like against Oz and the Alliance, but now they've like, you know, started drinking the Kool-Aid, as it were.
Yeah.
And Hildy's
he phrases it as the colonies had a smile when I left, and now that I'm back and their smile is gone, it seems like they don't even want it back anymore.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
Yeah, and Hildy's like, this is the will of the people of outer space to join with Oz. Like, how could that be wrong? We learned that they are taking him to the lunar base to interrogate him about the Gundam, because they know that he's a Gundam pilot by now.
She tells him this, and he's just like, oh, fuck yeah, that's where I wanted to go. Free ride.
Yeah. He tells Hildy that, like, she doesn't have the skills to be the enemy, essentially. Like, they're the same in that they're both foolish soldiers who will see their friends lose their lives while fighting for their own causes.
And he says, you remind me of myself when I went to Earth. And then, like, literally just flat out starts flirting with her beyond that.
Yeah. He's macking on her.
Yeah, it's... he's grooving.
And, like, you know, Hildy kind of moves to the front. She's in, like, the sort of, like, seating area of the shuttle. And she asks her superiors, like, why didn't you fire a warning shot? Like, why did you just start firing on us? And he's like, our orders are to kill rebels immediately, no matter what. And she's like, even though you fired on me too. And he says something that she's been saying throughout this episode. He says soldiers should be willing to die for their cause. So he's kind of like turning her own words against her. So it's like, yeah, you're part of Oz, but like, no, we'll kill you if we need to. And she's like, oh, this could be bad. Curious.
Yeah. And while they're talking, we cut to like an outside shot and one of their engines just kind of explodes. And
it's just out of nowhere.
The guy manning the controls is like, it must have been an explosion from the inside. Someone had to have done that. Someone who was back there. And immediately Hildy's like, Duo.
Yeah.
And she goes back there, and it seems like she's the only person who goes back there.
There are three people on this shuttle. It's Hildy, her captain, and Duo.
That makes more sense.
I swear to God, it's only I mean, probably not, but like effectively there's three people.
Right. Because she gets back there, and Duo's like, you've got good instincts to come back here. It's like, well, that's where the explosion was. Someone has to investigate it. But like,
follow the noise.
And Duo's stealing a Leo for the second time this episode.
At least steal the Leo that doesn't have a missing leg and a blown out like space thruster.
The same fucked up one again. And he tells Hildy to get back because he's gonna blow the bay doors. And she's like, no, you're not. And he fucking does it. And she manages to escape. But, like, the air is literally sucking out of the room. And she has to, like, hold on for dear life and try to climb back in and shut an airlock.
Yeah, right.
Just Duo gets out and he's floating around. And he's like, the mass balance control system is messed up. This is going to be rough. Like,
no shit.
I think the line he says is like, man, this is going to make me seasick.
Yeah, it's really good. And, like, there's 3 mobile dolls kicking his ass right now.
He keeps getting blasted.
He gets down to very quickly onto the surface of the moon. Conveniently right next to, like, the entrance of the hangar, though.
He makes a fucking joke. He's like, well, I made it to the moon base.
Yeah. He's like, am I washed up? It's cute. But before he can get before the dolls get him, Hildy comes in to save the day.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, Hildy, you should probably give them your code to say that you're part of Oz. And she's like, let them know that you're an ally. And she's like, I don't know who my allies are anymore.
She just straight up defects from Oz. She's known this man for, like, one day.
Yeah. Like, she's known this man for, like, I guess she did meet him a couple days ago. But she, like, blows open the doors of the base. Mm-hmm. And
Duo, flies in, spiraling out of control.
Yeah. He's like, don't die in vain.
Yeah.
And she's like, same to you.
It is a sweet sentiment. He's really like, I don't want you to die, but if you do, make sure it's for, like, a good cause. And she's like,
make sure it's badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't see her die here. I think she just gets captured, really.
Yep, she just gets yelled at by her superior. He's like, I have a real problem with your conduct, young lady.
Yeah. God. But Duo's in the base now. He does some Mission Impossible shit. He's sneaking around. Sick. Like, he gets caught by one of the guards, and his response is to yeet his helmet at the guard. And, like, dives down and grabs his rifle. Yeah, it's so. And
then he does, like,
cool.
a 1/6 gravity barrel roll and is just firing while spinning down a hallway.
It's nuts. It's so funny.
Sick. And he takes, like, 2 turns. The reason he was found is he was, like, checking out a map of the facility, and he ended up getting pursued, so his plans got screwed up. And he takes, like, a wrong turn, basically, and stumbles into a hangar and looks up and sees the Shenlong and the Death Scythe, and Professor G comes up to him. They're all there, all the professors, Master O, all of them, and they're basically like, hey, these will be ready in 1 month. Get captured and stay alive. Don't die. And then Master O walks up to him and is basically like, I'm sorry I have to do this, and just, like, beats the shit out of him.
It's so funny. He just starts laying into Duo, and he's like, it won't hurt as much if you scream. And Duo's like, I'm too badass for that. And he just gets, like, punched so hard in the stomach that he just passes out.
The line in English is, Mama told me real men don't scream out loud.
And, like, we cut to, like, the hallway where, like, the scientists just dump him at the feet of a bunch of guards. And, like, the cameras from below, so they look so much more sinister.
Yeah, and they call him a traitor. Professor G, like,
they play
kicks
it off
him in the
really
gut.
well. It's so good. Like, I love that, like, the Gundam scientists are, like, just as badass as the pilots are.
Mm-hmm. They're playing the part perfectly. They keep Oz extremely off their scent.
Mm-hmm. And now, according to plan, Duo's in jail with Wu Fei and Hero.
It's incredible.
Oh god, these guys are so dumb.
He gets dumped into the cell. Don't put the Gundam pilots
together.
Yeah, I know. He gets dumped into the cell, and at one point, he's talking to Hiro and Wu Fei, and he's like, I'll become the god of death once again, but right now, I need some sleep. Just rolls over on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he, like, mentions to Wu Fei that, like, his Gundam and also Wu Fei's Gundam are being rebuilt. Mm-hmm. He's like, as long as the colonies exist, I'm still going to fight for them. Mm-hmm. And the last scene of this episode, Miliardo, I think he's, like, heading back to Earth now. He's, like, leaving space, I think they mention. Un talks with Troa. Un is in girl boss mode by now, of course.
Yeah, she's back in the red outfit and everything.
And she, I don't know if this is quite the right line, but she mentions how both Miliardo and Zex have different views on the future of space.
Yeah.
And Un essentially says she's going to fight for both hers and Trace's future, even if it kills her.
Yeah, and I think she's talking to Troa when she says this, but she takes off her glasses and her voice starts to change.
Yeah.
And it's like they're trying to say she has, like, reconciled both sides of her personality.
I don't believe that shit for a minute.
That was the read I had on it, I guess. Maybe I'm entirely wrong.
Oh, no. I mean, what I mean is, like, it very much feels like she might be trying to reconcile it, but, like, I don't think she'll be successful in such an endeavor.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is...
Because, yeah, like, even if it kills her part is when she does, like, nice voice.
This is the thing I've been talking about and alluding to with Lady Un, is they say split personalities, and I don't know if they mean it to be as literal, but it, like, there's a moment where she's like, nice Lady Un in the blue, like, politician's outfit, and then someone talks to her about, like, being a soldier or something like that, and she literally has, like, a breakdown. And so this is why I've just been like, they did kind of a bad job, because they were just like, oh yeah, she's got, like, multiple personalities, that's fine, it's normal. Both of them are war criminals, though.
Yeah, it's not portrayed terribly well.
Yeah. Shocker that Gundam did something terrible to a woman.
I know, right? Well, that'll lead us into the third episode this week, which is, this is a lot. So, episode 24, the Gundam they called Zero. A new mysterious Gundam attacks and utterly annihilates a resource satellite. Oz, alerted to this, sends Troa, who brings Hiro along, in the Vaiit and Mercurius to take it down. Troa's plan is to confirm that the pilot is Quatre, so the boys can all finally join back up and take down Oz. Tubarov, angry that Lady Un is still favoring pilots over mobile dolls, attempts to throw a wrench in the works by shutting off the air of the prisons, hoping to suffocate the Gundam engineers Duo and Wufei. Meanwhile, after destroying one colony, Duo and Hiro reach Quatre, who tries to destroy a second, and they do battle. Quatre does not listen to Troa at all, and so Hiro begins to duel him, aiming to kill him. I'm gonna kill you, Quatre winner.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
This boy is Joker-fied to a concerning extent.
Joker-fied. God. Also, the first glimpse of the Wing Zero. I'm so excited.
So this is like, I mean, this is less of a glimpse, more of just like, this is the main Gundam.
This is the demonstration.
Wing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. So the main thing, like, it has these interesting elf ears, is the only way I can kind of describe it.
Mm-hmm.
It has a cool shield. Like, we see it in bird mode. Its wings are different. Its wings are, like, more... They're not as, like, 2D as the other Wing Gundam's wings were.
Yeah, they're not, like, flat.
They're kind of bubbled out. And the main sort of feature here is the beam... The Buster Rifle, I believe it's called. That's essentially... What if we glued two guns together?
It's so stupid, but it's so perfectly awesome. Like, in the dumbest of ways.
It's a bit over the top.
And one of my favorite things, it's not a small detail, but most of the Gundams we've seen have Vulcans on their heads, right?
Yeah.
This motherfucker has Vulcans that are Gatling guns built into, like, right above the joints of both its shoulders.
Yeah, it's like clavicle guns. It rules.
So we open on this resource asteroid. Oz is equipping it with engines to move it to, like, some zone. It's the Oz power zone, whatever the fuck that means. On their radar, a small shuttle pulls up. It looks suspiciously like bird mode Wing Gundam. Leos get sent out and start blasting at it, and it transforms and looks just like the Wing, transformation included. And it takes regular Leo fire like it's nothing. It gets blasted by a couple Dober guns and, like, gets knocked away. And someone's like, yeah, we can keep firing. We've got this. And, like, no, they fucking don't, because it turns around and it takes the double barrel Buster Rifle, aims it at the asteroid, and fires the biggest column of laser we have ever seen that's not fired by, like, a colony laser, basically. And
yeah, it's nutty. It's terrifying.
The asteroid fucking splits in half and explodes. The destruction is literally unparalleled. We have not seen anything like this.
It's so fucking... It's terrifying. And, like, we kind of pan to the cockpit. Quatre's piloting this thing.
Well, we get a very slight glimpse. We get, like, an unfamiliar Astro suit, a cockpit that we don't recognize, and the only thing we really get is a glimpse of the eye and the very obvious blonde hair and eyebrows. But, like, it's like, oh, is that Quatre? Like, yeah, it's fucking Quatre.
Yeah.
But, like, they tried not to give it away entirely because he doesn't speak at all.
No, yeah. From that we cut to Tubarov and Un are talking. They're basically arguing that Un wants to use the Gundam pilots for the Mercurius and Vaiit. Un is like, no one in Oz is able to pilot as better as these guys can. And Tubarov is like, what if we just use the fucking mobile dolls? My cool dolls, Lady Un, please.
Yeah. And then I think they get interrupted and Lady Un gets told about this new like rogue Gundam and the resource asteroid just disappearing. Mm-hmm. And the pilot actually declared, they're not saying who it is because they don't know. The pilot declared that he would destroy a colony and sent along the blueprints of the Sandrock. Another quote unquote hint that this is Quatre.
Yeah.
And Un is immediately like, fuck the mobile dolls. We're deploying the Mercurius and the V8. Mm-hmm. They need to get to that colony now.
Yeah. It's just so funny that this call sign is like, hey, look at this thing.
Yeah, I know. It's like the Joker leaving a Joker card. It's like,
yeah, the fucking chattering teeth.
I'm the pilot of this Gundam that you've never seen before. Here's the Gundam I piloted previously. Do you know who I am?
I know, right? Here's your hint.
And then we get the first of many times where people in the episode have to tell other people what has already happened in the episode, because the Gundam engineers get a rundown of what's happened by Troa, who's like standing outside their cell. Mm-hmm. It's so fucking stupid. But then Troa walks away. He's like, I'm gonna get more information and relay it back to you. And the engineers talk and they're like, that firepower, like to destroy an asteroid like that, it must be the original Gundam design we all collaborated on. And Dr. J says that pilot is either ignorant or overly aggressive.
Yeah.
Doing something even we hesitated to do. It wouldn't surprise me if one or two colonies disappear. Whoo, boy.
Ooh, yeesh. I'm tugging on my fucking collar.
Yeah.
So Troa goes to the jail to get Hiro to pilot the Mercurius. He's like, hey, this mission is a pretty dangerous one.
Yeah. And Duo keeps calling him 01. Like, no names.
Yeah, Duo's like mad that he's not being taken and stuff, but eventually Hiro does get taken. He talks to Wu Fei after they're gone, and Wu Fei's like, yeah, that wasn't an act. I think Troa might have actually betrayed us for real this time.
Yeah. And Duo's like, no way. When he punched me, he gave me this cool thing.
Yeah. It's like it looks like a lighter, but he clicks it, and
it's a little projector.
Mini projector screen.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And he sees that it's actually contains blueprints to their new suits.
Mm-hmm. And then there's like a little recorded note from Troa that's like, look over these specs to kill the time.
Yeah, it's really silly.
I love this scene because we have 4 Gundam pilots all in the same room, and there's a bit of chemistry that I really enjoyed, and it's that Duo is just like hot dogging on Hiro. He's like, I'm the better pilot anyways. Take me instead.
It's so good.
It's so fucking funny.
It's so good. So Troa, they're in space by now, right? Mm-hmm. Troa's telling
the Mercurius
Hiro,
and the V8 get deployed with like a dozen Leos, and there's this cool like launcher carrier for the Mercurius and V8. They're like sandwiched on it, like facing each other, and then it's just like
they're the bread
rockets.
And the launcher is the meat.
Yeah, it's very funny, but it's also like very like boring practical science fiction.
It's pretty utilitarian.
Yeah.
Troa mentions to Hiro, he's like, all right, we're going to find out if this pilot is indeed Quatre. And if it is, I can drop this disguise. We can all fuck Oz right up because all 5 of us will be together.
And Troa's raring for, like, he is tired of putting on this charade for Oz, and it's very apparent.
Which is really funny because I don't think anyone could have done it as well as Troa did.
Absolutely
except
not.
For maybe Wu Fei, but like no one else.
Troa has not broken character. He has consistently done things that would like impress Lady Un, and even if they know he's a Gundam pilot, she doesn't fucking care because he has earned her loyalty. Like, just fucking excellent stuff.
It's really good. We cut to Colony 06E3. They're under attack by Quatre immediately. Quatre radios them and says, "You're going to die."
Yeah, he's fucked up.
He's fucked up. They're firing. Oh god.
We do hear that the colony has basically been entirely evacuated, and they send out like a couple Leos, and they have like lasers on the colony that they start to fire. And Troa is like, anyone who, like, all of the Oz troops who are on here, you need to leave now or I'm going to kill you. And this is like the first time we hear his voice, and it's like, oh, it is Quatre. And he doesn't give them any time and just immediately fires. Like a couple Leos shoot at him, and he's like, okay, actually I'm going sicko mode. And he splits the Buster rifle into 2 separate rifles, points them either direction, and then starts spinning while he's firing.
Nuts. Just fucking, it's such a stupid thing that's clearly effective, but it's like, I guess this is, God, these rifles are dangerous.
And we get some action where he's shooting Leos with his like shoulder-mounted Vulcan Gatlings as well.
And they tear through the Leos,
too. They fuck them up. I think Quatre says, you're afraid of dying, aren't you? In that case, you shouldn't be fighting at all. And then puts the Buster rifle back together and fires on the colony. And it's so, like, it's sad, but it's also satisfying because we see inside the colony when shit gets, like, blown up, the light in the background, like, all of the lights on the colony are out, so there's just the light of the laser, like, rim lighting some of these buildings as chunks of the colony start to, like, split and separate, and ultimately the colony just vaporized, explodes.
Yeah, I think that Quatre's a terrorist now.
Yeah, he is, like, the literal Joker, not in the fun way.
It's a lot. Good Lord.
And then we cut into the cockpit, and he's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
He's doing the same thing Troa did when he blew up the Death Scythe, which is he's crying without, like, realizing it. But he also says he doesn't feel sad. Uh-oh.
Yeah. He's, oh, God, this kid's fucked up.
Yeah. Then Troa wakes up Hiro. How long were they flying?
I don't know, but he's like, hey, bad news. Colony's gone.
Yeah.
We're going to leave the carrier and kind of sneak over the next colony so Quatre can't see us coming.
Yeah.
Carrier sticks out too much. Troa is like the overconfident one this time.
Yeah.
And Hiro is the one who's like, maybe be careful. Like, we know it's Quatre, but he did just destroy an entire fucking colony.
He literally did
Let's
destroy
tread
the
lightly
thing
here.
that, we're trying to fight to protect.
Oops.
Yeah. The Oz troops give Troa some shit for letting, like, Hiro fly ahead in the Mercurius. And he's like, don't worry, I have his detonation switch. It'll be fine.
We cut to jail again. Duo's continuing to geek over the blueprints.
Yeah.
At this point, we see the new Death Scythe. This head fucking weird. It has this weird white filigree around it that, like, I think just looks completely goofy.
It looks very stupid, but I do like it.
I think they're trying to go for, like, some gothic design, but, like, it doesn't really work because it's just a big chunky piece of metal.
It's weird, and they augmented the head too. The head used to just be, like, kind of the typical Gundam head where it has, like, the eyes, the mouth, and then, like, the vents on the side. But this has, like, a much wider, like, helmet that covers all of that. It's kind of an ugly design. Like, this is, to me, and hopefully to most people, but to me, this is a downgrade for the Death Scythe.
Yeah, I haven't seen the full thing yet. I will hold my views until then, but, like, if everything's like the head, I don't know.
Like, spoilers,
I don't need that.
Sort of, but the coolest Death Scythe is the one in Endless Waltz. Like,
I mean, the coolest everything's the one in Endless Waltz, though. So.
I disagree.
Well, we'll burn that bridge when we get there.
I will fight anyone who says Endless Waltz Sandrock is better. Anyways.
I mean, in my head, I don't care for all the Endless Waltz designs. I like the Endless Waltz designs.
Yeah, you don't like Gundam Wing designs in general.
Yeah.
So.
I like the Endless Waltz novel designs.
Interesting.
There are some cool ones there, but alas, we're not talking about that.
Anyways, Tubarov turns off the switch for the oxygen, and
Tubarov says, "Hey, what if I killed all the people who were standing in my way?"
There's one guy who's like, "Sir, that's fucked up." And Tubarov, like, looks at 2 other soldiers, and they just immediately, like, detain this guy. And he's like, "Don't worry, you were just following my orders." God.
Curious. And fucking hell.
We cut to the engineers, and Dr. J is like, "Ooh, I'm getting old. I'm a little woozy." And Professor G is just like, "Shut the fuck up. They turned off the oxygen. We all know it."
Yeah. It's like, oh well, I don't need to hide it anymore. And at the same time, Quatre, or Duo and Wu Fei are like, well, this fucking sucks. And Duo specifically is like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw in the towel. Man, this is such an uncool way to die.
Yeah.
And he's just like rolling over, accepting his fate.
He's like, this is so fucking lame. Meanwhile, Wu Fei is like stoic, and he's still just like poring over the schematics. He's like, there's no reason to like lose our heads. If we can get out of this by remaining calm, then I'm gonna remain calm and get out of this.
So back in space, we know that Hiro went ahead and like he didn't find Quatre. Troa can't find Quatre. We're in the colony, and we see Quatre in the Wing Zero, just like breaking shit.
He's just like poking his guns and shield into buildings and just like smashing stuff. But it's like the least destructive destruction. He's just kind of like breaking a couple windows, and then he walks up on like a little park with a Ferris wheel, and he's like, the colonies don't deserve fun toys like these. That's not exactly the line, but he's angry that they have things that they enjoy, I guess.
Yeah, fuck that. You need war. You need to fight. And then, the Leos show up and he just starts shooting them. Troa radios him. And at this point, he kind of heads out into space, right?
Yeah. The Leos confirm that the Wing is in the colony. He just dusts them and then heads out into space. He's like, okay, my opponents should be here. Yeah. And
Troa radios him. He's like, hey, Quatre, my buddy. And Quatre's like, don't come any closer. And he fires at Troa. And the Vait's entire left side gets melted by this Buster rifle.
It gets entirely melted, and the cockpit is exposed. Yeah. And Troa is, I think, talking to Hiro. Maybe he's shouting to Quatre as well. But Troa's head is bleeding. He's got blood dripping down his forehead even.
Yep.
He's in a bad way. And Quatre basically says the same thing to Hiro. He's like, don't come at me. And Hiro goes directly at him. And the Mercurius's shield actually stops the Buster rifle's shot, which is genuinely kind of surprising after we've seen what it
ultimate
can do.
Shield.
Yeah. So it does its work, and Hiro pulls up with the shield with the beam extended out from the center of it, and Quatre raises his shoulder. It opens, and he pulls a beam saber out of it.
Yes. And he just says, I'm gonna kill you.
Yep.
It rules.
Yep. He says Hiro's line to Hiro.
I don't know. Hiro tells Quatre he's gonna kill him.
Oh, no, that's what it is. Yeah, sorry.
It is very much Hiro's line, and I believe him.
I got it mixed up because there's a moment where Quatre says, tell the others to stay away from me, otherwise I'll end up killing them too.
Yeah, everyone's trying to kill everyone.
And then
else.
It's set up for the Hiro versus Quatre 1v1.
Yay.
One of them is in a Gundam, and one of them is not.
Yeah. Who knows? Tune in next week, find out. That's episodes, though. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Good ones. I like Wing.
Yeah, 23 and 24 were really, really solid. I am going to double check this. Actually, I don't know if I have the internet bandwidth to double check it right now, but I think 25 and 26 are both recap episodes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. We'll find out when we watch them.
They're the dreaded 2 recap episodes where they literally don't introduce anything new, and it's all just footage from the first half of the show.
Okay. Maybe, we'll amend the schedule to what we need to do next week then when we encounter that. In the meantime, though, how about we do it Beyond Toon World?
Let's get it.
You're going to love this. Trust me. Beyond Toon World!
This one will be a little bit sad. You may have known this, you, Jared, or listener. Recently, one of the Wing voice actors passed away a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Saori Sugimoto, who was the voice of Catherine Bloom. I think it was congenital heart failure, but regardless, she didn't have many roles. She was born November 17th, almost my half birthday, 1964, in Fujisawa, Kanagawa, Japan. I found a website that actually lists voice actors' hobbies and skills and whatnot. Her hobbies were spoon collecting and tennis. That's very cute.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, and her skills were flower essence therapy, and she was a licensed chef and dietitian.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
That's really cool. I'm always amazed when people are professional chefs.
Mm-hmm.
I like cooking, but cooking is an art that I'm not terribly good at. I can put stuff together, but I'm not a master in the kitchen or anything like that.
I made tacos for dinner, but that's one of the only things that I can really like prep on
Yeah,
my own.
I can make a mean beans and rice, but
Yeah.
you know. I didn't recognize many of her roles. She was a one-off character called Boom 1 in Sonic X anime. She voiced Pom Pom Purin in a Hello Kitty animation theater. I don't know if that was an
cute.
OVA or what. She was a lot of roles in City Hunter, which is an old, I think, 60s or 70s anime.
I think it's a 70s
it's the guy,
anime.
Yeah, it's the guy who drives the Mini and has a big old rocket launcher, which is cool.
It's the guy who uses the guns in Jump Force.
Yeah, the guy who has the best ultimate attack in Jump Force.
Yeah.
It looks like her main reoccurring role was in an anime called Shimajiro, as a character named Ramarin Makiba, and this is like 6 or 7 different roles. And another major role, I say with an asterisk because this is, from what I can tell, it was a horny anime. It's called Green Green, as a character named Sanae Minami. I looked up a little bit and I was like, you know what? I don't want to read more about this one.
Yeah.
It seems troubling. I was looking this up at work too, so I didn't want to look up any more of it. She was Asuka and Tetsu in Fist of the North Star.
Oh, nice.
In another recurring role in Chibi Maruko-chan as Toshiko. And of course, Wing, Catherine Bloom. And she shows up in a lot of... I guess Catherine just shows up a lot because she was in like all of like the Wing and Endless Waltz OVAs and the Endless Waltz movie, which is just the OVAs in one movie with more footage.
Yeah, I mean, Catherine's like a relatively important character specifically to Troa, so it makes sense.
Yeah, she's important for... Yeah, exactly. Like, she's there to kind of ground him. She's his, like, the person who frames his actions. Yeah, not like a terribly long Beyond Two World, but, we show our appreciation to her.
Yeah,
Rest
absolutely. I do want to make an amendment. I said episode 25 and 26 were recaps. It's actually 27 and 28 that are recap episodes.
Okay, so... Depending on how the footage rolls out, next week might be 25, 26, and 29, potentially?
Possibly.
If there truly is no new footage, I figure we'll just, like, continue to do the 3 episodes per week and just, like, say, hey, these 2 were recap. Anyway, moving on,
Yeah.
We'll see. That'll about do it for this week. You know what? I think we did a pretty good job talking about ideology this week, despite the circumstances and despite this show working against us.
Yeah, there was a lot to take in, and I hope that most of it made sense, and I didn't say anything stupid.
I mean, if anything else, I know that all of our friends in the Discord will have a very intelligent conversation about this next weekend when this episode goes up. So.
And I will miss the beginning of that conversation, come in halfway, and not be able to follow it. So, just like usual.
That's the Discord way. Well, now as we take it to the close, would you like to do plugs, Jared?
Sure. My name is Jared, or Jay, obviously. You can find me at PagliacciProtoJ on Twitter and on Discord. I don't have a Fiverr account set up yet, and I'm not going to promo it because I frankly probably won't set one up. But if you want someone to do voices for you, I am offering voice work. It's passion of mine, and it's fun to do. Yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah. Obviously all of Jules' stuff will be linked, and by all of Jules' stuff I mean her Twitter account will be linked in the show description. But I've been Max. You can go to MaxyBajillion on Twitter to find me. My other shows include Pod of Greed, the world's #1 and only Yu-Gi-Oh podcast, Post Per Cap Corp. Hey, we finished season 2 of GX. We're halfway through. It's season 3. It's going to be in like a week from now. Can't wait. That's at Pod of Greed Cast on Twitter. And my other podcast is called Slappers Only, a video game music showdown podcast. Our next episode will be on Splatoon 2, because we forgot last time that we had to do a Halloween episode instead. Because it's a yearly tradition now.
Yeah.
Woomy! Go to slappersonlypod.com or slappersonlypod on Twitter to listen to that. This show is on Twitter at WowCoolPodcast. There's Discord links in every episode description as well as the Twitter header. The show can also be found on Noisepace.xyz, a podcast network made by our friend Matt GameCube. All my shows are on there. Many, many more shows are on there. There's something for everyone. Go check it out. And I guess since you did Robot of the Week last week, I'll do it this week. and Jules will do it next week. And then it'll be even easier to remember because whoever does the intro will just do the robot as well.
Yeah.
Everything works out. Perfect.
So, Max, what is your robot of the week?
My robot of the week is the... Cars are robots. My robot of the week is the Mercedes-AMG Concept 1, which is the cover car for Forza Horizon 5.
Fucking incredible.
I haven't played the game as of recording, but when this episode comes out on Sunday, I will have played the game for about 48 hours straight. I can't wait to drive the lush landscapes of Mexico. The map looks incredible.
It looks so good.
I have an Xbox Series X, so I can experience it in its full glory. Very excited for that. Car game forever. I'm going to really try and post a lot of photos because, game pretty. People got to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that will do it. Thank you all for tuning in for another wonderful episode. We'll see you all next week with a full cast next time.
Yep.
And as we always say, hey, look, and we're not going to have any confusion with the end of the episode this time.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty easy. As we always say, war is bad.
Wow.
Bye-bye.